Hello everyone and welcome to the dumbest radio show on television. Today I have yet another theory that is going to blow your mind. Sonic and Tails, one of the greatest teams in all of gaming. With Sonic's speed and Tails' intellect, there's nothing this pair can't overcome together. Forget Mario and Luigi, these are the brothers I'm hooked on and I'm never letting go. But what if I told you something shocking? What if I told you that in an alternate universe, this pair has been split apart forever? What if I told you that Tails could be dead? Now, I know what you're thinking. Git, have you lost your collection of marbles and now you're suffering from an affliction with the same name as a certain 1984 arcade game? How could Tails possibly be dead when he's appeared in so many games? Well, before you lock me up and throw away the key, let's back up a bit and talk about the Sonic game timeline. For the most part, the chronological order of the main Sonic games seems to be very straightforward, but around Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, things start to get a bit confusing. As you may already know, these two games are actually two halves of one game, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, which you could only play by attaching Sonic 3 onto Sonic and Knuckles' connector. This combined game is seen as the true Sonic 3. But you know what I think? I think only Sonic 3 and Knuckles is canon in this timeline, with the other two games taking place in an alternate universe, the 8-bit Sonic universe. Released for the Master System and Game Gear was another Sonic the Hedgehog 1, but this was a vastly different game from its Genesis counterpart, despite having a similar story. Both the Genesis and 8-bit versions of Sonic the Hedgehog have our favourite blue hedgehog going into South Island to rescue the wildlife from the evil Dr. Robotnik. But in the 8-bit games, South Island is designed differently and even has zones that weren't in the Genesis game. This suggests that this game, along with its sequels, take place in an entirely different canon from the main timeline. Next is the 8-bit Sonic 2, and this game had a much different story from the Genesis Sonic 2. Rather than join Sonic in his adventure, Tails is kidnapped by Robotnik and it's up to Sonic to rescue his little buddy. This game also takes place on South Island, which has even more zones that are never seen in the Genesis games. But sadly, after that, the 8-bit Sonic games just fizzled away and an 8-bit Sonic 3 was never made. It seemed that this alternate timeline ended before it ever really started. Or perhaps it didn't die at all. What if Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles were the next games in the 8-bit timeline? And perhaps even more shockingly, please sit down for this, what if the bad ending in 8-bit Sonic 2 is actually the canonical ending in the timeline? If you don't collect all the Chaos Emeralds in this game, you get the bad ending, where Sonic fails to save Tails and begins to return home. Eventually, Sonic stops running and looks into the sky and he sees a picture of Tails in the night sky. It seems to imply that Tails has died. Now, as awful as bad endings can be, they usually aren't canon to the future installments in the series, so we all assumed that Sonic did save Tails and they enjoyed many adventures together forever after. But is it possible that Sonic failed to collect all the emeralds and his best friend died? After all, that was a damn hard game, and even Sonic has his limits. There's a good chance he failed to get all the emeralds. So Sonic survives this clash with Robotnik, but he loses Tails forever. Next in the 8-bit timeline comes the lone version of Sonic 3. Robotnik is up to his old tricks again and Sonic has to defeat him once more, this time without his fox pal. But Sonic was hit hard by the death of his best friend and hasn't really gotten over the grief of his loss at all. On the outside he may look as cool and as blue as our home planet, but on the inside this is one broken hedgehog, and no, he hasn't been eating bread. That kills hedgehogs, don't you know? Throughout the entire game, Sonic is struggling to come to terms with Tails' death, but the only reason we can't tell is down to the lack of dialogue and Sonic's stoic nature, but believe me, there are plenty of hints to his pain and anguish. In fact, each of the zones represent the stages of grief and loss. You think I sound crazy? Well, just get a load of this! Angel Island represents denial. Right from the opening cutscene, this is clear to see. Sonic is imagining that he's flying above the sea with Tails in the tornado. He then turns into Super Sonic and rushes on ahead when he's attacked by Knuckles and loses all the emeralds. But here's the thing, During gameplay, Super Sonic is impervious to enemy attacks. He certainly wouldn't get hurt by Knuckles, unless Sonic wasn't really in super form at all. He only thought he was because he was in denial. Yeah! Shortly after that, he meets the first mid-boss of the game, who then sets fire to the entire jungle. Holy shit! That would make anyone panic. But no, not Sonic, oh no. In fact, he doesn't seem bothered by it at all. He's just standing there and he's all like, whatevers! Once again, denial! At the end of the zone, Sonic is attacked by Knuckles again. This time, the red echidna destroys the bridge Sonic's standing on and makes him fall into the next zone. Such a callous act. How could Knuckles be so hateful to someone he's only just met? That's surely got to get to Sonic. That has to make him feel anger. Hydro City represents the next stage of grief, anger. Many times it's been stated that Sonic's greatest weakness is water, and here he is in yet another water-themed stage. It brings back horrible memories of the water zones from the previous games, where he narrowly managed to avoid drowning multiple times. Have you ever heard the phrase, anger born from fear? For many people, the drowning theme in these games is the single most terrifying music track in all of gaming, and they will do anything to avoid hearing it. Just imagine how Sonic must be feeling this situation. He must be so angry and scared and angry and scared and angry. Also, we all know how much Sonic likes to run fast, but when he's underwater, he can't move nearly as quickly, which must be extremely frustrating for him. What's more, I think I remember reading somewhere once that the most annoying thing in games for most people is losing control and feeling helpless, and that happens constantly throughout this zone. Strong water currents forcing you to go to places you don't want to, Knuckles dropping in water without giving you a chance to fight back, Robotnik's whirlpool attack being unescapable once it sucks you up. Ugh, it's enough to drive any spiky rodent up the wall. And it all reaches a climax at the end of the zone, when Sonic is sent flying into the sky and into the next area, Marble Garden. Marble Garden represents the third stage of grief, bargaining. At the very beginning of the zone, Sonic is falling helplessly down a number of very steep hills. This represents his further descent into grief and his worry about his own future. After this near-death experience, Sonic is feeling vulnerable and regretful of the past. Surely there was something I could have done for Tails. Surely I could have prevented his death. At this point, he feels as if he needs to redeem himself for his past mistakes, in this case, failing to collect all the Chaos Emeralds in Sonic 2, which led to Tails' death. Perhaps if he got all the emeralds this time, he could prevent his own death and extend his own lifespan, and what better way to ensure a safe future than to gain the ability to turn into Super Sonic? Marble Garden happens to have more giant rings and special stages than any other zone in the game, giving Sonic plenty of chances to ease his guilt and pain and do things right this time. And at the end of the zone, as if to reward Sonic for his actions, Tails will magically return to help him defeat Robotnik. However, it's likely that this is another hallucination, because you may notice that Tails can fly forever during this battle, something he was incapable of doing before. This represents how we tend to forget about people's flaws when they pass away and only focus on their positive aspects. After defeating Robotnik, the daylight fades and it turns to nighttime. Sonic's imaginary reunion with Tails is cut short when the two-tailed fox lands Sonic in Carnival Night Zone and flies off, leaving him to face the most hated zone and stage of grief alone, depression. This zone looks cheerful, the carnival has come to town and everyone's having a great time, but for our hero, things are grim. The upbeat music and visuals represent Sonic's attempts to keep himself happy, but the night represents the darkness that looms over his mind and heart. He's never felt more down, and the players felt the same way to be trapped in this horrible zone. About halfway into the second act, Sonic encounters Knuckles once again. The red echidna turns the lights off, which represents Sonic's further descent into sadness. Fortunately, Sonic is able to turn the lights back on and his spirits improve. Slightly. But just when it looks like things are on the up, just when Sonic is on the cusp of getting his life back on track, he comes across the biggest hurdle of all, the Barrel of Doom. This is the most infamous part of the entire game. This is where many players were left completely stumped and had no idea how to get past it. Many players may have given up at this point, losing the drive to go on, but once they and Sonic find out how to clear it, life will begin to improve again from here on. Ice Cap Zone represents acceptance, the last stage of grief. Winter is commonly seen as the face of death. It's the harshest season of the year, with many animals choosing to hibernate during this time to avoid its dangers completely. Most hedgehogs choose to do this, but Sonic isn't most hedgehogs. Instead, he looks death in the eyes and laughs. Ever the brash hero, Sonic ignores the danger he faces and chooses to have fun, like snowboarding down a mountain or riding an ice block through a deadly ice cavern. Snow, cold and death everywhere, but he's like, whatevers, and fights through it all. Brings a tear to your eye, doesn't it? With such little regard for his own safety, it seems Sonic no longer fears death, which in turn shows he has finally accepted Tails' passing. Now he can move on and enjoy his life to the fullest. Well, that's that. I hope you've... Oh damn it, I forgot, there's still Launch Base Zone and I'm all out of stages of grief. Think. I made it this far, surely I can pull something else out of my ass. Oh, I've got it. Launch Base Zone represents a boss rush of sorts of each of the stages of grief. This is denial. This is anger. Here's bargaining, depression, and acceptance. So after defeating the final Robotnik battle, the Death Egg flies off into the sky and explodes. The night sky and Sonic's last lingering doubts and guilt fade. The game is over and so are Sonic's fears. Sonic & Knuckles is the next game in the timeline. In this game, Tails isn't around at all. This shows that even his ghost has moved on to the afterlife. The pain will never truly leave Sonic's heart, but he can now cope with his grief, and when he meets his brother and sister in a few years and they start a search to find their mother together, he's going to find that he still has a lot of love to give. Well, that's just about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, even though it was a load of old bollocks. Good night.